Welcome back to episode 2 of Rite Takes. So this series is all about giving you guys a behind the scenes look at what it's like to work on set with us. There's one thing to be posting and sharing your work and letting people see what you can do, but pulling back that curtain and showing them how you do it is just as valuable. So that's what this series is all about. And we are sitting on probably over 12 months of behind the scenes projects that we've shot. So we have a lot of episodes to bring out. Moving forward, I do kind of want to move away from the sit down piece to camera, and I actually want to film them vlog style on shoot. But like I said, we kind of have a big backlog right now of some really incredible projects that we've captured that we want to share with you all. So on that note, this one's a little different than most of the other projects we're going to be talking about. This one wasn't a client project, this was a spec project. And I feel like spec projects are really, really important and really underrated. So I wanted to give you a bit of a breakdown on how we always approach spec projects. But first, let's take a quick look at what we created.
As a dancer, every move embodies my strength and resilience. Through dance, I break barriers, express myself, and inspire. It's a language of empowerment, connected through movement. Women everywhere, across all different cultures, redefining femininity, fearlessly. Building strength and cultivating beauty of our own collective spirit, both as a force together and as powerful individuals.
So something I really like doing with spec projects is making it look somewhat like a real commercial piece. So as you can tell, this one was for Nike and it was for International Women's Day. I also like to use spec shoots as an opportunity to try new things, and sometimes that's gear or different lighting setups or whatever it might be. So funnily enough, I actually came up with this idea 12 months ago, but I wasn't able to work on it alongside all of the client work that we had going on. Our model for this project was the incredibly talented Joella Jackson. I pitched this idea to her when I originally had this thought, and so I feel like she really understood the vision that we were trying to go for and helped us bring it to life perfectly. The studio I chose for this was very intentional, and it's because they have an overhead scrim and they have 4 aperture panels rigged up above the scrim that help light up the cyc, and you can also change the color of those. I told Joella to just bring a bunch of Nike clothing that she had, so she had different options, and we ended up deciding on just going with one outfit where she would just take the jacket off for some certain shots and then have it on for others. Now, before we rocked up to set, I had planned this so much. We had a script written out, we had outfits, we had shots, we had everything planned out. But my original idea was I wanted the overhead lights to be set to like a pinky orange. But once we set it up and did some tests, the colors just really washed out the talent, and we tested some other ones and it turned out that blue just looks the best for her skin tone. Now, the lighting setup for all of these different shots that we captured started with the same base, which was a spotlight beamed into the middle of the cyc, and we used the Nanlite 60C plus the projector attachment to do this. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't think rigging up a 60-watt light with a projector was actually gonna be bright enough, but I have shot in this studio before, so I knew that they had blinds on all of the windows so we could control all of the light in the studio. So I was hopeful, and it actually worked out perfectly. So this first setup was our brightest setup. We had the 4 overhead panels set to blue, and then used the Nanlite FC 500B as our key light. And then we set up the Nanlite Mix Panel 150 just on the far right side of the frame to add more blue to the background. These shots were gonna be the most hype, really strong, powerful movements from Joella, and I was gonna do lots of fast camera movements to match. We made sure she kept the jacket on so she could sort of emphasize those movements by interacting with that jacket. The second setup was a more dramatic lighting setup. We turned off 2 of the overhead panels and changed the color temperature on the spotlight and on the key light to be a little bit warmer. These shots were gonna be a bit slower and a bit more focused on the female body. So lots of hip movements, lots of hands on the body, and my camera movements were gonna be a lot slower too. And for these shots, we got rid of the jacket so you could see more of her body. The last setup was purely lit with just the spotlight, and this was more of a creative setup that I wanted to test out and try and see what it looks like. And I ended up using some of these shots as match cuts throughout the piece. So going into this, I had a few creative ideas that I wanted to capture. But in terms of like shot listing and figuring out what Joella was actually going to be doing, I just told her to dance how she wanted to, given the fact that there were some hype shots, more powerful movements, and some more slower shots. Put on a song that sort of matched that vibe, and she led the show. There were certain times where I got her to repeat something if I wanted to, get a different angle or if my focus wasn't right, but she took direction really, really well and helped bring this project completely to life for us. So with the creative ideas I had in mind, the first one was dad cam footage. I love blending this old school kind of footage into edits, and this is something that we quite often do with our client work. Next was slow shutter drags. I love using these shots as transition clips in any sort of fast-paced edits. And again, this is something that we do quite often in our client work. These next two creative shots weren't something that we had done before, so this is where we kind of challenged ourselves to step outside the box. First up was this bird's eye top-down shot. Now in retrospect, this wasn't wide enough, I wasn't high enough, but I wanted to give this a go to see what it looks like. I was originally on the 10 to 18, but you could see the ladder in frame, so I switched out to my 24 to 70, and honestly, it didn't really look like a bird's eye view kind of thing. But we tried it, and now we know if we do want to achieve this sort of thing, we're gonna need probably a cherry picker. So this last effect that I wanted to try out was this clone effect. I've been seeing this everywhere online, and I understood fundamentally how to execute it, but I just never had an opportunity to do it in client work. I think all up we took about 7 or 8 different takes of Joella dancing, and I told her to keep her moves quite minimal. Wherever she is positioned, keep your hands quite close to your body, like don't extend your arms out or above, because then you could interrupt the framing of a different you in a different shot that will then blend into the one shot. So given the position of the shadows, I was only able to use 4 Joellas in frame at once. When it came to editing this one, I was on a bit of a time crunch. I know I said that I had actually thought about this 12 months prior, but I planned it all and I had the idea in my mind 12 months prior, but I only booked it in a few days before International Women's Day. So I ended up shooting it and editing it all within 48 hours. Whenever I have fast turnarounds for edits, something that really helps me is by pre-picking a song, putting it in the timeline, and structuring a bit of a base edit. I took inspiration from the Paris Goebel Nike collaboration for the intro slide. Like I said earlier, I really like our spec projects to look like commercial campaigns, so that's why I took inspiration from something that they'd already done. Now this spec has definitely been one of the funnest that I've worked on. We had an awesome crew, awesome talent, and the final edit turned out way better than I ever imagined. Seeing this vision come to life was pretty awesome. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it.